All right, we are in the good one this time. So this is going to be conversions. Conversions is a really cool skill that we can actually use as a dealer. If we're starting to run low on a particular color and we can't really pay the player that color, there's certain instances that we can pay them a higher color and just take some from that player's bet in order to make it still equal what it's supposed to equal when we're done paying it. That may sound a little confusing, but this is a really valuable skill. Imagine all players are betting red $5 checks, and you get to your table from break, and this is all you have. That's all the red you have in your rack, and you have to pay everyone. And obviously, you're gonna bust, and you have to pay everyone, and this is all you got to work with. If you tell your floor person that you ran out of red, and they can see that you could have easily converted, that could get you in trouble in some instances, especially if you're in a more experienced casino like Aria or Bellagio or the Wynn. You should have already known all that stuff. So this is a really important skill we're going to discuss. There's a lot of different types of conversions. We're going to discuss a lot of different ones here. I would encourage that you set up these cases yourselves and try practicing these, because I'm telling you, these will be important and you will use these. Sometimes players don't want to be paid in the color that they have. And sometimes you don't have the color to pay them, so you're going to have to change the color. So let's get into the examples. So starting down here, we have a bet that is only $3. So the way I like to think about conversions is if I have to pay that bet even money, which that's the only time we're really going to convert, is if we pay someone an even money payout. If you're paying 3 to 2 or 6 to 5, you can convert. However, it can be confusing to floor and surveillance. So we, for the most part, discourage it unless a player requests it. Make sure that floor is aware and we'll take care of that. So if I was going to pay this $3 bet, even money, like this, I have a total of $6 that are there when I'm done paying it. So all I'm going to do is think to myself, okay, the bet was $3, multiply that by 2, $6. That means I can fit a red inside that bet. So, because I have to pay 6, right? I'm going to give them a red, and then I'm going to take 2, leaving $6. I'm going to take whatever I take from the player, I'm going to tap the red or whatever the color is I brought to pay them to let surveillance and floor know at a glance that I'm performing a conversion and I'm not trying to fix my own mistake. For the most part, the tap is optional. However, it is a nice professional little thing you can kind of add to let them know, hey, I just converted. I'm not trying to fix a mistake or an overpayment or anything like that. So we're just going to follow the same trend for this next one. So in this example, this player bet $4, as you can see here. Now we're going to pay them a red using the same logic that we did before. So what is 4 times 2? 8. I can fit one of these red checks in $8. So I'm going to give this to them and I'm going to make it look like $8. I only took one check from the player because they had $4 there. I gave them 5, took 1. That means it's $8 when I'm done. I'm going to leave it just like that and move on. Let's set up the next 2 cases. So these next 2 cases, we have a player who's betting $15 that we have to convert, and we have a player who's betting $20 that we have to convert. So if I was paying a $15 bet even money, how much would be there when I'm done? 15 plus 15, $30. That means I can fit a green this time. And all I have to do is remove money from the player to make it look like $30 when I'm done. There you go. You have 1 green, 1 red that remains. That's $30. Let's move on to the next one. The other player bet $20. 20 plus 20 is 40. So I can still fit 1 green in that payment. All I'm going to do is remove money from the player to make it look like 40 when I'm done. Simple as that. 1 green is 25, 3 red is 15, so 25, 15, $40. Let's move on to the next 2 cases. All right, next 2 cases we have a player who's betting $75 in green, we have a player who's betting $300 in black. So starting with the green, we have $75, so 75 plus 75 is going to be 150. So we can fit a black in that one. However, because there is no black that is on that bet currently, as far as the green is considered, floor is not expecting black to go to that player. So we need to stage it on the table on the right side of our shuffle pad, and then we must call floor for approval by saying 1 black going out. Whatever the however many black are going out. We're going to say 3 black going out, or whatever the call is going to be. In this case, it's just 1 black. We don't want to just say black going out because floor is keeping track constantly of how much purple and black is on our game or in our rack. So they want to know how many are leaving. So I'm going to say 1 black going out, and because there's no black on that bet right now, this is going to require approval. However, if I was giving black to a bet that already had black on it, I would still announce it. It would just be an alert call at that point. So I would say 1 black going out. They give me the approval, go ahead. Now 75 times 2 is 150. So I'm going to give them this black, and I'm going to make it look like 150 when I'm done. Simple as that. I just leave 2 green on the bet, just took 1. Looks like 150. We're good to go. Let's move on to the next case. So this other bet, $300. This player, let's say they're requesting a purple. I'm going to put it on the shuffle pad, and I'm going to say 1 purple going out. It's going to be approval because there's no purple on that bet currently. Floor is going to give me the approval. Go ahead. Now I have to think. 300 times 2 is 600. So as long as it looks like 600 when I'm done, then I did a good job. So I'll take this over to the bet, and I'm going to take $200 from the player. Simple as that. It looks like 600. I'm done. Let's move on to the next cases. In this case, we have a player who's betting red at $25 total, and we have a player who's betting green at $100 total. So let's start with the red, and let's convert that one. So looking at the bet, we have 25. Let's think, what's 25 times 2? 50. That means I can fit 2 greens in that payment. However, this is what we refer to as a full conversion, because we are going to take everything that's on that bet. The reason for it, there should be $50 on the bet when we're done. I'm already going to give them 2 green or $50. That means if I leave that red there, they're going to have $75 on the bet. So I have to take 25 away. So it should look something like this. I'm going to heal the green, showing that it's a payoff. And I'm going to take all of the red, leaving $50, which is what's supposed to be there when I'm done paying it. We're going to do another full conversion on this green. This player ended up doing 4 green or $100. And let's say the player is requesting 2 black. I'm going to put the black on the right-hand side of the shuffle pad. And because there's no black on the bet, I need approval before I deliver this. So what do I say? 2 black going out. Always tell them how many black are going out, or purple. Floor says go ahead. Now I'm going to deliver. Now let's just make sure we understand how this works. The bet is $100. 100 times 2? 200. That's exactly what I'm paying, which means I have to take all of that player's green. It's another full conversion. Make sure you heal the payment, tap the checks, and lock it up. And it'll be simple as that. So now this is the basis of most conversions. We're going to be moving towards something that's a little bit more complicated. So let's knock those out next. So in this example, we have a double down conversion. 2 double down conversions. We're just going to imagine that I'm dealing, I busted, and both of these players decided to double down. So they win, I have to pay them even money. We're going to do the same thing we did in the last couple sections. It's just going to be a slightly different number. So for example, looking at this first one here, we have 15 and 15. We have a total of $30 on that bet spot. So let's do the same thing we did before. What's 30 times 2? 60. I can fit 2 greens in 60. So let's just make it look like 60 when I'm done paying it. I'm going to give them 2 greens, and I'm going to take whatever I need to from the player to make it look like $60. Notice that I'm not stacking anything on top of anything. I'm not trying to move it into the bet spot and make it look pretty. It's deliver, grab, tap, put it away. That's it. Make it simple. Next one. I have a player who's betting 20 and 20, or a total of $40. So what's 40 times 2? 80. So how many greens can I fit in that? I can fit 3 in this one. So I'm going to bring it out, and all I have to do is make it look like $80. Simple as that. All right, let's move on to the next ones. All right, so in this example, I have something that I like to refer to as split conversions, or 2-color conversions. So we have a green on the bottom on the first example, and we have 3 red on top, totaling right here is going to be $40. So if you try to think about the total, we can still follow the same concept. However, there is a little thing that will trip someone up sometimes. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So anytime we're going to pay a multicolor bet, we will always clear our hands, or whatever hand is going to touch the money, and we're going to separate the colors and then clear our hand again. Clear, touch, clear, like we've discussed before. So let's do that first. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to total the bet in my head. So I have $40. What's 40 times 2? 80. How many greens can I fit in there? As we discussed before, I can fit 3. However, in this example, this is where people get tripped up. You have to remember there's already a green there. So you can include that as part of what you're supposed to pay them, which means I'm only going to pay them 2 green, and the green that's on the bet is my third green that I need because I need it to look like $80 when I'm done, right? So I'm going to bring out the 2 green, deliver the payment, and make it look like $80. Simple as that. Just leave 1 red remaining, and the player's green that they already had, just give them 2 green, take the rest, make it look like $80, you're good to go. The next example, same situation. However, this time they're going to bet 45. So first thing we're going to do, it's a multicolor bet. We'll clear our hands, separate the colors, clear our hands, and then we'll figure it out from there. So we have 25, 30, 35, 40. We have $45 that are sitting there. So let's do the same thing we did before. What's 45 times 2? 90. So I'm going to find out how many greens can I fit in 90. The answer would be the same at 3. But just like the previous example, the player already has 1 sitting on the bet. So I'm going to give them 2 instead. I'm going to include that green on their bet as the third green that I needed. And I'm just going to make it look like $90. That means I only have to take 1 red away from that player, and now it's 3 green and 3 red, which is a total of $90. Simple as that. So next, I'm going to show you guys what's known as a 2-point and 3-point conversion. We're basically going to perform the same principles that we've already learned, but we're going to do it a couple of different times on the same bet. So we'll start with a 2-point, and I'll show you how we do the 3-point right after. So we have on the first one here, this player has green and red that's sitting on the bet spot. So as always, we're going to clear our hands, separate the colors, and then clear our hands again before we even think about trying to pay this bet. Just to make it visually easy for you guys to see exactly what's sitting here, I'm going to splash these, but normally you would just leave them as is. Just so that way you guys can actually count and see exactly how much money is sitting here. So in this first example, the player's asking to be paid with a black. So let's bring it out. I'm going to place the black there. Now you have to ask yourself, do I need to say anything? You do, because there's a black going out to a bet that does not have black on it. So I need to know if this is going to be an alert or an approval. Your guess? It's going to be an approval call because there's no black currently on that bet. So I'm going to say 1 black going out, and then Floor is going to give me my go-ahead, saying go ahead. And then I'm going to deliver. The way we figure out a multicolor bet like this, ignore the red. Just look at the green, and you'll understand why in a second. So how many green do we have there? We have 3, right? A total of $75. When I'm done paying that, it should look like $150, right? So let's do that. Let's ignore the red and just take care of that green. So I already got my approval for 1 black going out, and now I'm going to take care of that green. I'm going to convert the green alone. I just made that look like $150. I still have that green that I took from the player sitting in my hand. This is supposed to go in the rack at this point. However, I basically own this now. This is the casino's now. I can use this to convert the red the same way we did before. We have 4 red that's sitting on that bet. Now that's going to be $20. What's 20 times 2? 40. I can fit that within $40. So that's 25. I'm just going to make the red and the green I'm going to give them, I'm just going to make it look like $40 when I'm done, just like this. Now this is mine, and I can lock it up. That would be a 2-point conversion, or at least that's what I like to refer to it as. And now we're going to show you guys how we can do a 3-point conversion on the next one. So on this next one, the beginning is going to look very similar. We have a multicolor bet, but this time the blue in the front, which we here for now, we're just going to consider those dollars. The player is placing a tip for us, and we're obviously assuming that the player wins. So we have to pay them. Before we pay them, we have to separate the colors. Always separate your colors. Clear your hands first, clear your hands after. Clear, touch, clear. So I'm going to do that for you now. And just so that way it's easy for you guys to see everything that's going on, I'm going to splash all these colors. However, you would usually leave it as is. Remember that the blue that's sitting in the front is a tip for us. So I don't want to always give them or give myself 4 more blue or $4 more when I could convert it. So I'm going to show you guys how we can do that. This conversion in the beginning is going to be extremely similar to the previous one we just did. So let's say the player is requesting a black. I have to make my approval call because there's no black on there. So I'm going to say 1 black going out. Floor is going to give me the go ahead. And now I'm going to deliver. Ignore the blue, ignore the red. We're doing the same thing we did before. Just focus on the green. The green is $75. 75 times 2 is $150. I can fit a black in there. So I got my approval from floor already, and I'm just going to convert that green. Now I have the green, and I can use that to convert the red. The same thing we did in the last hand. So 20 should look like 40. I'll start with the green and make it look like $40. Now I have this red, that's mine. And now I can use this to convert my tip. I have $4 sitting there. They're supposed to be $8 when I'm done paying it. I have a red right here. I can convert that too. Make it look like $8. Now this can go away, and I happen to have converted their bet twice and my tip once. 3 points, right? Simple as that. We only have 1 more conversion to do, and I know that this might be getting a little crazy for you. However, these 2-point and 3-point conversions don't come up too often. This is more so of a concept just to show you how much you can really do with these conversions once you really start to grasp the concept of how they work. This next one is something that does come up quite often, but for the most part, it's fairly simple. Let me get that set up. All right, this is our last conversion we need to talk about. So we have a player here who has a stack of reds, and they say that, let's say they want to be paid in green or whatever the case may be. We'll talk about that once we cut the bet down. Now, because they want to be paid in a different color, we need to know how much money is there. We can't just assume. We have to actually clear our hands, cut the bet down, and then clear our hands again. It'll look just like this. As far as splashing the last stack, it's optional. However, a lot of floor people that I've worked with when I was dealing, a lot of them don't like splashing on blackjack unless red is less than 5. So if I had 4 or 3 at the end, it would make sense to splash that last part. So here we just have 3 stacks of red, or we have $75 total. So the request from the player in this example is the player wants to be paid in green. So that means that they want us to pay them in green, or 3 green. And they also want us to take 2 of those stacks of red away from them on top of it. So this can pose a problem to some people because if you don't practice this, this might kind of stop you in your tracks for a second, but it's not that difficult. So let's break it up into its components. First request, the player wants to be paid in green. So we have $75 there. Let's bring out $75 in green. I'm going to put it on the shuffle pad, and now I can pay them a direct 1-to-1, but I have to take 2 stacks of red, or $50, away from them. In order for me to do that, I have to replace it. So how do I do that? I can just give him $50. So I'll put 2 more green up that I'm going to pay them for, or pay them with. That means that when I take those reds, I've already replaced them with green. That's how we can do this. First, bring out the even money payment, then bring out whatever amount of stacks you need to replace. And then it's good, easy as that. All we're going to do is stack it up, heal the payout, and take the stacks we need. Just like that. So now you guys are armed with all the knowledge that you need as far as how conversions are handled. And just remember that converting outside of a 1-to-1 pay ratio is, I would say, more so discouraged. We want to only do it if it's 1-to-1. So that means even money, that's it. If you're doing 6-to-5, 3-to-2, 2-to-1, or anything like that, you can convert, but I wouldn't recommend it necessarily because it can be confusing to your superiors. But that should be it. Make sure you practice this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.